Hello and welcome to the Imagine Crafts YouTube channel. My name is Lynn, or LV Handcrafted here on YouTube, and today I am working with this brand new to me ink pad. It is StazOn Opaque. And what's different about this is a couple of things. So in terms of the formulation, it is a solvent-based ink that is permanent. Just like your regular StazOn, you can use this on non-porous surfaces. The difference with this is, as the name would suggest, it's an opaque ink as opposed to a translucent ink, which the other StazOn inks are. And the third type of StazOn is metallic. The second difference is, unlike the translucent inks, this ink is, the ink pad is uninked. So you actually get the ink in a separate bottle, and you can always buy refills. And basically you kind of ink up the ink pad as needed as you go, because it is solvent based, it can evaporate. And so you always really want to make sure that you kind of seal it closed really well, that you basically, put out as much as you think you'll need. And as you saw, and you'll see me do it again, you just let a little bit of ink out. It does come with a little squeegee that you can use to spread across your ink pad. And I was careful just to use one end, because the more thinly you spread that out, the more easily it's going to dry, because you're spreading it across a wider surface. So I don't know this for a fact because this is the first time I'm using it, but personally I would stick to a smaller area and concentrate it more on that area. I am playing with my BetterPress some more, and this is a really lovely holiday design. The press plate is really a gorgeous frame, and then a second press plate in the center gives you the Merry Christmas sentiment. So this is going to be my card pretty much complete once I get this done. Now, one of the things that I realized after I did this, or while I was doing this first one, is that I was sort of careful not to really spread the ink all the way to the edges of the ink pad. But then I realized that as I'm inking up the press plate, there are probably areas where the ink pad doesn't have any ink. It's actually probably lifting ink off of the press plate as opposed to applying ink on. So I thought better of it and decided to add a bit more ink and really try to spread that out to the edge. And then try to really get a nice even coat or even coverage of ink on this press plate. Now, being that this is an opaque ink, you're going to be able to stamp onto colored cardstock. And that's exactly what I'll be doing. I'll be stamping this white inked design onto black cardstock. The BetterPress system is Spellbinder's letterpress tool that came out a little bit earlier this year. And it's really easy. All you do is just pass this through your manual die cutting machine. You empty your machine of all of the other plates and you pass through this sandwich. This is kind of the new sandwich that you pass through your machine. And what that's doing is applying pressure so that the metal sort of pushes into your card stock a little bit and leaves this beautiful impression of, or this beautiful inked impression. And that first go, it went well, but it was really clear that there were some areas I did not ink very well. And so there were some areas that were a little bit sort of light or faded, and then other areas where you have this nice, beautiful, bright white, which is really lovely. I mean, it can be hard to get a really nice, like super white finish on or stamped image on black cardstock. And so this worked beautifully. And so much so that I decided I need a little bit more ink. Probably I added as much that second time as I did the first two times combined. And I really inked up that, 1/3 all the way to all three outside edges. That way there's at least less risk of me lifting ink off from an area that of the ink pad that wasn't inked. And the second time, it turned out much better. You can kind of see it there. I have a much more complete design. I could leave it at this, and I think that would be really lovely. It's really simple. If you like to make cards to sell, oh my gosh, you could be doing these so quickly and have so many ready to go if you go to craft fairs and you sell at craft fairs. Or if you like to make the same card to send out for the holidays for nonprofit organizations, sometimes, volunteers will make cards to send for your own family and friends. If you have a lot of family and friends and it's easier to come up with one design and make it sort of en masse, this would be so fast and easy, but super elegant. I'm gonna actually just kind of take it up a notch by coloring it in, but I'm only going to do a little bit of select coloring. And another ink that works beautifully on colored cardstock is your Delicata inks. So I've got Delicata in silver, and I am just going to use that silvery shimmer Delicata ink to paint with. I just dissolved or kind of diluted it a little bit with water just so that it's spreadable essentially, and I'm gonna paint with it as if it was watercolor. What's nice is that it gives you this really lovely shimmer, and if you dilute it with a lot of water, then it's a little bit translucent. If you use less water, just enough to basically move it around a little bit, then it's more opaque. So you can actually build up and have some degree of sort of highlight and shadow based on how much water you add to your ink as you're picking it up off of, I just squished it onto an acrylic block here. And you can see I didn't squish too much ink out, and I'm only selectively coloring in the holly berries, which isn't a lot. It's not a huge area, but it didn't take a lot of ink, and it's just adds a really nice subtle shimmer, and it's also super fast too. So this wouldn't take too much more time to do, but it does elevate things a little bit because now there are some more solid areas to give contrast to the darker black areas, which I think helps to just make it a little bit more interesting to the eye so that it doesn't look too flat. I hope that you enjoyed seeing how the StazOn Opaque ink works, and in particular how it works with the BetterPress. Thanks for joining me today. Let me know what you think in the comments below. And until next time, have a fantastic day. Bye.